Earth year 1983.
The asteroid belt stretched like an endless sea of stone, jagged rocks drifting silently in the vastness of space. Nestled among them was the Savarak, a Kalari observatory ship, its dark hull blending seamlessly with the cold void. The vessel had monitored the blue planet for decades, though in truth, their watch stretched much further into history. For centuries, the Savarak had tracked Earth's progress, shifting positions to avoid detection. Sometimes it lurked behind the moon, hidden in the shadows of lunar craters. Other times it drifted quietly along the edges of the asteroid belt, its silhouette indistinguishable from the rocks around it. When necessary, it took refuge behind Earth's own satellites, masquerading as another piece of space debris. They had crossed paths with the blue planet countless times, sometimes appearing just on the edge of human radar, barely a flicker of a distant object in their skies. At other times, they had ventured so close that the humans had seen them, observed them from their backyards, on mountain tops, and in the night sky. When detailed surveillance was required, the Savarak deployed small reconnaissance drones, sleek disc-like machines that skimmed Earth's atmosphere to gather data. Most of the time, they went unnoticed, but not always. Earthlings occasionally spotted them, filing strange reports of unidentified flying objects. The Kalari took no offense to the term. Commander Vakran paced the length of the command deck, the steady hum of the ship's systems the only sound accompanying his footsteps. His violet eyes narrowed as he gazed through the large viewport, Earth hanging in the distance like a jewel encased in black velvet. Despite the serene image, he felt nothing but unease. The quiet of space seemed to mock the chaos that persisted on that fragile world. What new developments unfold on Earth? Vakran commanded, his voice low but firm, cutting through the stillness. Two young officers seated at a circular control console tapped several glowing keys, summoning streams of data that floated above the table in holographic brilliance. Orvan's pale green fingers glided through the information, distilling Earth's latest developments into concise points. Commander, Earth's inhabitants have shown continued technological progress over the last cycle, Orvan began, flicking his wrist to project a rotating image of the Challenger, Earth's latest spacecraft. They recently launched their spacecraft on its maiden voyage. It represents their advancements in reusable spacecraft technology. They aim to make routine flights beyond their atmosphere. Vakran leaned closer, studying the blocky winged craft. The image rotated lazily, showing the shuttle from various angles. Crude, but resourceful, he admitted. They persist despite their limited understanding of interstellar physics. Perhaps, in time, they'll stumble upon breakthroughs. Second Officer Jorak added, they are also expanding their satellite networks and have made progress in communications technology. Additionally, terrestrial conflicts continue. Earth's forces deployed troops to Lebanon, further escalating tensions. Vakran's brow furrowed. Their inability to find peace among their own is concerning. It seems war is their most constant companion. Jorak hesitated for a moment before continuing, glancing down at his console. In terms of industry and civilian technology, they have developed compact video recording devices. They call them camcorders, allowing for portable visual documentation. Vakran's gaze lingered on the turning planet below. After a pause, he let out a low hum of approval. A step forward. They may stumble toward the stars, but at least they remember to turn back and record the journey. Orvan glanced at his commander. You admire this development? Vakran nodded faintly. Memory is a powerful tool. Preserving the small moments may lead them to cherish the greater ones when they finally rise beyond their world. Orvan smiled softly. One step at a time, I suppose. He glanced down at his console, a flicker of interest in his eyes. They've recently introduced a new device called a mobile phone. It allows them to communicate across great distances without wires, a step forward in their technological evolution. Additionally, they have begun constructing something called the Internet, a network designed to link their machines and institutions, allowing for rapid exchange of information. Vakran's gaze lifted sharply from the viewport, his expression shifting from quiet observation to genuine intrigue. He turned to face Orvan fully. A global network? One that connects minds across continents? Yes, Commander, Orvan confirmed. It's rudimentary for now, limited to a handful of systems, but its potential is vast. Vakran stepped closer to the console, the faint glow of Earth illuminating his face. This is more than simple communication. This could reshape the way they think, how they evolve. Ideas will flow faster than ever before. Borders will blur. Conflicts may grow sharper, but so will cooperation. He paused for a moment, folding his arms as his gaze drifted over the turning planet below. It's curious, he continued, his voice quieter, how they develop tools to connect as eagerly as they craft weapons to destroy. Even as they divide themselves with blades, they weave threads to pull each other closer. Orvan glanced at the commander, noting the rare, contemplative tone in his voice. A contradiction, Commander? No, Vakren replied softly. A balance. One they may not fully understand, but one that drives them forward nonetheless. He gestured toward the hologram of Earth. It's why they survive. They build for war, but they also build for unity. A species capable of such duality is unpredictable, and that makes them dangerous, but also remarkable. Jorak glanced up, arching a brow. It's just a network of machines, Commander. We've had such technology for millennia. Vakren gave a quiet chuckle, shaking his head. For us, yes, but for them, this is the thread that could weave their fractured world together. Today it links institutions. Tomorrow it may connect every home, every individual. This is not just progress, Jorak. This is the foundation of something far greater. Jorak stepped forward, his voice thoughtful. You are right, Commander. It could be the beginning of something more. If they learn to build upon this, they might one day reach out to the stars. As Commander Vakran inquired about further developments, Lieutenant Orvan responded with a hint of enthusiasm. Yes, sir. Your favorite topic, their weapons advancements. A holographic display flickered to life, showcasing an array of Earth's latest armaments. Orvan swiped his hand across the interface, cycling through the images and descriptions. Jorak's eyes narrowed. More weapons? His tone carried a note of disbelief. This is what they focus their ingenuity on? Earthlings already possess nuclear warheads, fleets of tanks, and enough rifles to arm their entire planet 10 times over and wage war on half the galaxy. Yet instead of propelling their species into deeper space, they refine tools for what? Destruction. They refine tools for survival, Jorak, Vakran said, his tone steady. Destruction is only a byproduct. He turned slightly, his eyes meeting Jorak's. Every species prepares for the threats it knows. For humans, those threats have always stood beside them, sometimes wearing the same face. Their weapons are not ambition wasted. They are lessons written in steel and fire. Vakran gestured toward the hologram. They forge these tools not because they crave war, but because they know peace is fragile, and if that peace shatters, they refuse to stand empty-handed. Jorak's brow furrowed, but he remained silent, absorbing the words. This, Orvan began, is the Milkor MGL, a rotary grenade launcher capable of firing 6 explosive rounds in rapid succession. The sleek, rotating drum of the weapon glowed softly in the projection. And this, Orvan continued, the Tomahawk cruise missile. Long-range, highly accurate, capable of striking from hundreds of miles away. The image of the missile floated in mid-air, trailing faint plumes of data. Jorak tilted his head as the weapons passed by. If only they showed the same enthusiasm for space technology, he remarked dryly. They might have discovered us by now. Vakran chuckled softly but said nothing, eyes still fixed on the display. Then the projection shifted and a new image materialized. A sleek, imposing handgun, bulky, heavy, and undeniably powerful. This, Orvan said with a note of amusement, is the Desert Eagle, a handgun chambered for rounds as large as 50 caliber. Humans designed this for personal use. Vakren stepped closer, his head tilting slightly as he examined the weapon. His jaw tightened. 50 caliber? He repeated, his voice soft but filled with incredulity. In a sidearm, that's artillery masquerading as a pistol. Yes, Commander, Orvan said, tapping the stats. Its gas-operated mechanism and rotating bolt design allow it to handle high-pressure cartridges, delivering immense stopping power for a handheld weapon. The command deck fell silent, save for the soft hum of the hologram. The Desert Eagle continued its slow, predatory rotation, reflecting light like a distant star. Every movement of the weapon seemed deliberate, as if it too was calculating its next move. There's something else, Vakren said, stopping to fold his arms. His gaze lingered on the massive barrel as if trying to measure the weight it carried. The recoil. He let out a soft breath, shaking his head slightly. When fired, the Desert Eagle pushes back against its user with brutal force. He raised a hand to the hologram as though testing the shape of the grip through the light. Jorak shifted uncomfortably. His eyes flicked to the display, then back to Vakren. A weapon that fights its own wielder, he muttered. That seems excessive, even for them. Vakren's lips curled faintly at the comment, though his eyes never left the projection. It's more than that, Jorak. A single shot could break the wrist of most species in the quadrant. This weapon isn't content with simply firing. It demands your submission, your acknowledgement of its strength. Jorak crossed his arms, staring at the hologram like it might fire at him at any moment. It's madness. Vakren's gaze flicked to Jorak for just a breath, his smile faint but unwavering. Madness, Vakren said softly, is often just ambition by another name. Orvan's eyes widened slightly at the mention of such a violent recoil. It breaks wrists? Yes, Vakren replied, his gaze never leaving the hologram. A weapon like this doesn't just harm, it punishes. The sheer force of that 50 caliber round. He paused, his voice lowering, almost reverently. The 50 caliber round is a beast in itself. It tears through flesh and bone, causing massive, catastrophic damage to the body. It can tear apart organs, break bones with ease, and leave no room for survival. The impact isn't just death, it's obliteration. Jorak swallowed hard, still processing the magnitude of the weapon's power. That's extraordinary. Vakren allowed a rare smile, but it was cold, detached. Extraordinary, yes, but that's what makes them dangerous. They don't build to survive, they build to dominate. Even in the smallest of ways, they craft destruction that leaves nothing behind. Jorak hesitated. For how long? Vakren slowly turned to face him, crossing his arms as he regarded his officer. Long enough, Jorak. Long enough to shape their world with weapons like this. Yes, Jorak, Orvan said, struggling to keep the amazement out of his voice. Humans seem unconcerned about recoil. Jorak shook his head, arms folding tightly across his chest. They could be colonizing their moon by now, yet they pour resources into crafting new handguns. I fail to understand their obsession. Orvan hesitated. Perhaps it is part of their nature. They value dominance, even on a personal level. Their industries mirror their instincts. Vakren's eyes remained locked on the Desert Eagle projection. Its angular frame gleamed, exuding an almost predatory aura. This weapon is impractical in most situations, Vakren admitted, but I cannot deny its beauty. Look at it, elegant yet brutal, like a predator carved from steel. Orvan glanced up from his console, catching the distant look in his commander's eyes. You admire it, he remarked carefully, watching Vakren's reflection in the viewport. Admire? Vakren's lips curled into a faint smile, though it lacked warmth. Admiration might not be the right word. Fascination, perhaps. Respect, maybe even fear, Vakren admitted. But there's something captivating about it. It's not just a tool. It feels like a challenge forged in metal, daring its wielder to master it. Jorak nodded, slightly bewildered. Humans do have an artistic flair for violence. The Desert Eagle rotated slowly in mid-air, catching the dim glow of the command center's lights. It was a weapon that seemed to defy logic, massive, unwieldy by most practical standards, yet undeniably beautiful in its ruthless design. Yes, Vakren said, stepping forward. His eyes traced the contours of the handgun, from the elongated barrel to the intricately machined slide. This is not merely a tool of war. It is artistry. A declaration. Humans don't craft weapons to solve problems. They craft them to make statements. Jorak approached cautiously, his gaze lingering on the same projection. A statement of power, Commander? Vakren shook his head. No, power is incidental. This, he gestured at the weapon, is pride forged in steel. It's as if they poured their defiance into the metal itself. Jorak tilted his head, studying the intricate engravings along the grip and the exaggerated proportions. Impractical for war. Surely something lighter and more compact would suffice. Perhaps, Vakren agreed, but practicality isn't the point. Excess is their signature. When humans create, they don't stop at sufficiency. They pursue dominance, even in the most personal of weapons. He circled the hologram slowly, every step measured. The Desert Eagle is not just a sidearm. It's a monument. a testament to their belief that even the smallest soldier deserves a weapon that can challenge giants. Jorak's brow furrowed. Challenge giants? But no adversary requires such destructive capability in a pistol. Vakran's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. That's where you're wrong. Their adversary isn't another soldier, Orvan. It's the universe itself. They forge weapons as if the cosmos watches, as if by crafting such instruments they can challenge the very fabric of existence. He gestured toward Earth through the viewport. Even now, their feet are shackled to that world, yet their gaze reaches the stars. Every invention, every firearm, each one is a step toward breaking those chains. Orvan crossed his arms, lips pursed. You believe their obsession with destruction will one day drive them into the void? Vakran's gaze never wavered from the distant planet. Yes, he replied without hesitation. And when they arrive, they won't come as diplomats or explorers. They will come armed, carrying weapons like the Desert Eagle, symbols of their defiance. They will seek to carve their mark upon the galaxy, not with peace, but with the same relentless spirit that fuels their wars. The command deck fell silent, save for the soft hum of the hologram. The Desert Eagle continued its slow rotation, reflecting light like a distant star. They are dangerous, Vakran said quietly. Not because of their numbers or technology, but because even their weapons are dreams made manifest. They make destruction beautiful. Jorak gave a slight nod, though his expression remained cautious. Shall I increase surveillance on their weapons manufacturing, Commander? Vakran let the hologram fade, leaving the deck dim once more. No. Let them build. Let them create their instruments of war. In time, we will either face them or marvel at what they become. Orvan gave a slight nod, though his expression remained cautious. Sir, I didn't know you had a poetic side. The way you spoke of the weapon and humanity, I almost felt like you were a poet. Vakran let out a rare chuckle, faint but genuine. The beauty of this weapon made me a poet, Orvan. Sometimes destruction speaks in verses sharper than any blade. Vakran said softly, Mark my words, Lieutenant. Someday we will not only fear their ships but their sidearms. The hologram of the Desert Eagle flickered and vanished, leaving the command deck bathed in the soft glow of the stars beyond the viewport. The silence stretched between them, broken only by the hum of the ship's systems. Jorak stepped forward, his arms still crossed. I still don't understand, Commander. With all they've achieved, why do they cling to such weapons? If they put that same effort into reaching the stars, they might already stand beside us. Vakran's gaze lingered on Earth's horizon, his eyes narrowing thoughtfully. That's precisely why they will stand beside us, Jorak. He gestured toward the distant planet. Because they refuse to leave behind their weapons. They will bring their wars with them, just as they will bring their dreams. One day, they'll walk among the stars with fire in one hand and hope in the other. Orvan smiled faintly. A strange balance, Commander. Vakran's voice dropped to a quiet murmur. Strange, but perhaps necessary. A species that embraces only peace stagnates. A species that knows only war destroys itself. But humanity? They walk the edge between both, always one step away from greatness and one misstep from ruin. He turned back toward the viewport, Earth's surface glinting beneath scattered clouds. When they finally rise, they won't ask permission. They'll carve their place among the stars the same way they carve steel, forcefully and without apology. Jorak watched the planet in silence. And if the galaxy stands in their way? Vakran's lips curled into the faintest smile. Then I suggest the galaxy steps aside. As the display flickered off, the observatory ship continued its silent watch. Far below, in the deserts and ranges of Earth, gunmakers honed their craft, unaware that eyes from the stars marveled at their creations.